Hey everyone! The reading that I have chosen to focus and give a short discussion on was from Richard Boyd's Locke on Property and Money. As we know, John Locke is known as one of the intellectual forefathers of modern liberal individualism and of the modern bourgeoisie conception of property rights. Due to this, he is susceptible to a wide range of interpretations because of his position midway between pre-modern and modern conceptions of property rights. Therefore, throughout his thinking, he gives various opinions as to what justifies his property and with whom gets control, and if an individual deserves control over property. With his idea of praetorialship, he generates affirmative responsibilities of good stewardship. Throughout the Boyd piece, he explains several arguments for Locke and his ideas behind property. Locke's defense of private property is natural and positive, and like Christian or classical theories, Locke assumes that the right to private property is subject to moral conditions of reasonable satisfaction. From ancient biblical times, people have argued that God's original donation to the human race was earth itself, with the proviso that over time it should be cultivated and improved. Yet, an individual's property is conditioned for one's own use. The terminology of just usage qualifies property rights in two distinct ways. First, the largeness of one's possession is limited as much as anyone can make use of it to any advantage of life before it spoils. Secondly, regardless of the extent of one's holding property, ownership entails an ongoing moral obligation to cultivate and improve. Strangely, Locke's custodial understanding of property rights may seem counterintuitive. Is something really someone's property if they cannot use it however they please, or if eventually it can spoil? Property rights either exist or don't exist. For this reason, the right to property is extremely bound up with a correlative moral duty to care for and even to improve land or good in our possession. By caring and providing responsibility for one's property, an individual can help slow the progress of spoilage and provide an obligation to protect one's property. Along with this, due to us owning ourselves in the sense that no one else owns us, we are naturally free from the dominion of any human being, but this self-ownership is ultimately conditional. While private property stems from the mixing of ourselves in the natural world through our labor of caring for and transforming things to make them our property, we ultimately own ourselves and have control over our physical property. Yet Locke does permit that there are certain actions by which individuals might forfeit their God-given ownership of themselves. Locke's understanding of appropriation also varies from that of other philosophers. As I mentioned earlier, self-ownership is given by God to every individual in Locke's theoretical worldview. For Locke, the natural commons where everything is owned jointly and is an admittedly curious starting point for a thinker concerned to justify the rights to private property. According to Boyd, in part, Locke inherits this dilemma from his critique of Sir Robert Flimmer. Flimmer argues absolute domination over the earth has been passed down through the generation to the firstborn descendants of Adam. From this standpoint, any private property we hold comes at the sovereign's request, and the freedom of the property owner may be reacted whenever the sovereign deems it necessary. Locke rejects Flimmer's claim that the earth was granted exclusively to Adam and his descendants. For Locke, the earth was given by God to the whole human race to be enjoyed jointly and collectively. Labor serves as the bridge between our initial ownership of ourselves and particular persons come to have privately won portions of the earth and its resources as a result of their labor. This is known as the labor theory of appropriation. Boyd also points to the important role money plays in Locke's notion of legitimacy of the unequal ownership of property. The foundation of equality, according to Locke, lies in mankind's tacit agreement to put a value on money. This not only introduces larger possessions, but it alters the instructive value of things, which originally depends only on their usefulness to the life of man. For Locke, money unleashes the biological drive to labor, allowing us to improve our own conditions as well as to obey the divine imperatives to improve the earth. We should also note that according to Boyd, the existence of pre-political stage of civil society has direct bearing on Locke's account of the origins of private property. Here, Locke disagrees with Thomas Hobbes. According to Hobbes, there can be no property outside the bounds of government. Property rights are among those liberties that remain within the silence of the law, a liberty given back to the subjects at the sovereign's discretion. Locke himself accounts for natural rights to property lends themselves to a defense of limited government and the priority of individual rights over public obligation. From Boyd's work, it is explained that Locke has several interpretations as to how property should be distributed, represented, and dealt with. Locke's defense of private property has been supremely influential in over the centuries, and his philosophy of property has been proven to be every bit as dramatic as it's been influential. Thank you.